Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Collage Artists of America's 2024 World Collage Day celebration. My name is Lauren Reckner, and I am CAA's current publicity chair. So thank you all so much for joining us to celebrate World Collage Day. We're really excited to have the opportunity to provide this Zoom space for all of you artists to showcase your work again this year. So for those of you just joining, I want to let you know that this event is being recorded for our friends who could not attend live, and it will be posted on our website after the event. I also want to give a quick shout out to Carol Priamo, our graphics chair, who created this graphic that you see on the screen for the event with a collection of artwork from the CAA board members. So thank you, Carol. Today's program will begin with an introduction of CAA by our wonderful newsletter editor, Quay Lin, followed by additional information from our equally wonderful, amazing membership chair, co-chair, Suzanne Belcher, who is joined here with Patrice Goldberg. And then we will take a short break before beginning our speakers' presentations. And please
It just started.
save your questions for the end of the program.
How many people do we have? Oh, we have 29 people.
Please mute.
If you would all please mute yourselves so that we can hear all of the presentations, that would be wonderful. So again, just if you have any specific questions for speakers, please pop them into the chat, and I will be going through those at the end, so we'll have a more open dialogue after the presentations. So I will pass it along to Quay Lin for...
Okay. Well, I've unmuted myself. I'm just giving a quick rundown of our organization because I think there's some non-members here, and and even new members too. So Collage Artists of America was started in 1988 in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, like not quite Valley Girls, but kind of, you know. And I think most of the original founders are gone now, but the organization still moves on. Could I get the next slide? Okay. So these are some of the things that Collage Artists does. First, exhibits. And right now we actually have one up. So not only is it World Collage Day, but there is an online exhibit that is ongoing at sfvacc.org, and it's called Interplay, and it's really an excellent exhibit. It's got like just a little under 100 works of art that were selected, and the person who won, her name is Karen Schiffman. That's her piece there in the center top square piece called I Wonder. The second place winner is Dunia Barrera. I think she's here today, and she was second place. And then our last show, or second to the last show, which was about 6 months ago, the person who won that was Lorraine Glessner, and she is now our program chair. So we do have exhibits. Most of them lately have been on Zoom, but there's, you know, we occasionally have one in person, and we're trying to get a way to do that more, but it's hard to find space in LA. It's an unaffordable city, unfortunately, but we're trying. Okay, next slide. So in addition to our exhibits, we have meetings and programs. This is a meeting and a program, World Collage Day, which is annual. And we also have 5 meetings like for everybody on Zoom, and we have the best speakers. We really do. And they are, oh, I'm sorry, someone wants asked to drop a link to the exhibit in the chat. I'll do that after I'm done. Anyway, we're having programs by really, really great artists. They're guest speakers. And we have our general meeting, and then the speaker comes on, and we have had like really world-class artists. The last one was Skylar McGee. That's her piece there up to the right. It's like it's an assemblage slash almost installation. And another installation artist who also does collage, Nancy K. Turner. She's the one who juried our current exhibit. So we have these all available to you through our website. And so if you go on our website, you will get access to them. Then we have workshops. From time to time, we're working on the next one. The last one was done by Andrea Bergay, who does a magazine called Cut Me Up. And then she's a wonderful theorist on collage. And every year we have a scholarship. We're working on 2 scholarships that right now the scholarship people have come from Cal State Northridge, and they're wonderful, promising artists. The last one was Angie Ivazian, who is a artist who has a Armenian background, and she's referenced that in her slide there. Okay, next one. Oh, next slide. And then there's media. We have a wonderful Facebook page with a gazillion entries every day and about 13,000 members. That's one administered by Wendy Tigerman, who is present. And also we have a newsletter. I'm the editor of the newsletter, and members of Collage Artists can submit graphics for publication anytime. We welcome all kinds of news. And the deadline for news is the 2nd of every month. And sometimes there's going to be vacations, but not too many. It's pretty much a monthly publication. And next slide, and our website. Our web mistress, Barbara Tabachnik, puts together this wonderful website where all of the group's news is. There's a whole place for the newsletters where it's like an archive and almost as like a history of our organization. There's the workshop announcements, exhibit announcements, meeting announcements, and like a catalog of artists, and a place where you can join up. Next slide. So to become a member of Collage Artists of America, you can go to our website and click the Join Renew tab, and I will leave that up to Suzanne and Patrice to talk about that a little bit more. Next. And we even welcome people to join our board. We love to chat with you. We all feel that we've gained more than we have given by being in the board, and we think you will as well. So I'd like to welcome you to our World Collage Day presentation. And I'm done. Next person. Okay.
Thank you. And I will unshare my screen for Suzanne, and we can talk this way. Thank you very much, Quaylen.
Sure. Oh.
Okay, Suzanne, can you hear me?
Oh, I can, yes. Well, I should have coordinated with Quayleen because at least she had slides. So I will be repeating some of the things that she shared with everyone today. Hi, everyone. As membership chair of Collage Artists of America, that has become an international organization because of COVID and thanks to Zoom. I wanted to take a few minutes also to welcome you all to this event orchestrated by our incredible PR chair, Lauren Reckner, who lives in Michigan, by the way, and her committee. It's the ideal time to join our organization if you aren't already a member, as our new fiscal year begins on June 30th, but you could join right now. We work hard all year our board does to keep our members engaged, as you could see from Quaylene's presentation. We meet 5 times a year with incredibly outstanding speakers, and we fill in the remainder of the year with a workshop or two, monthly member challenges, sparked by our workshop chair, Barbara Mathis. I don't think she's with us today. And all of these things are highlighted in our brilliant informational monthly newsletter put together by Quaylene, along with both virtual and in-person member only and open exhibitions. As Quaylene said, we did have our first open exhibition last year. It was the first time we've been together in person since COVID. So it was 3 years, and it was just wonderful. But it's really difficult to find venues. So we're always looking, and we have some good ideas. And we also top off our year by selecting the student scholarship recipient to be honored in our May meeting, which is coming right up on May 17th. That will be our last meeting of this fiscal year. And then we're dark until September, but we still keep active with the newsletter and challenges and anything else to keep everybody on board. We urge anyone joining CAA to be more than just a participant and to have the courage to jump right in to volunteer. It's a great opportunity. It's a really an amazing board. We are all over the map. As we continue to grow, we need more and more help in all categories. Half of our current board members are either non-local Californians or from out of state, as well as international. We have over 220 members now, and it's just amazing. Patrice and I, we can't believe what's happening with CAA. So you can be anywhere to be on the board. I want to thank all of you again for being here today. We hope that everyone will be inspired by the presentations. I'm happy to be one of the presenters. Patrice, do you have anything? I am so lucky to have Patrice Goldberg. I was forging on by myself for so long, and she's just gone leaps and bounds above me with her technical expertise, and I love her so much. So Patrice, do you have anything you want to share? Unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Suzanne, no, I'm unmuting myself to tell you that I really don't have anything else to add. I think you've covered it quite nicely. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, there she is.
Well, thank you, Suzanne, and Patrice and Quaylen for giving us an overview of CAA. And so now we'll just take a very short break, a few minutes. So now's the time to grab a coffee or a tea, so that we can settle in for our presentation. So we will regroup at, well, say 5 minutes from now. So see you soon.
It is nice to see everybody in a different format.
Yeah.
You know, this is fun.
Well, you guys in the membership committee are like almost like person to person with the new members. And I think that's amazing because you like give people individual attention to it.
Yeah, we do, but like I say, it is nice to see the face, because sometimes it's hard to associate, you know, who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Some people respond right away, some people take their time to respond. So this is good validation to see the new face and the new members, and to give people opportunity to get involved in a different way.
I'm glad you talked about that.
Yeah. Well, I like also seeing, some of the like non-board members who are like, longtime members, and then they're here and they're presenting, or actually sometimes just like looking. And it's
Right.
that's really cool too. And they showed up, you know. It's
Yeah. I'm really excited at the next meeting to show the updated directory, because I think it will help us all connect more. You'll be able to click on the person's name, see a sample of their artwork, and then if they have a website, go straight to the website, and then even be able to send emails right away, so you don't have to cut and paste, or copy the email, then go to your email and send an email. It's much more interconnected. And I think just seeing people's faces as a group, just like I say, will create a little more connection. And you can sort by state, so you'll be able to, the Californians were the most numerous people, but Texans, I think off the top of my head, like maybe there's 5 or 6 Texans. So if someone from Texas can say, okay, here are the 5 Texans, and maybe that will spawn some subsets, some subgroups of communication. Anyway, I'm excited about that. But that's a teaser for everybody to call in to our next meeting on the 17th.
Yes. Thank you, Patrice.
Of course.
I've been clicking through the directory, and it is really fun to see kind of matching artwork with faces. So so it is, well, for me, it's 2:26, but so I think we should move along to the presentation. So now, I mean, kind of as we're all coming back into the Zoom room, this is just another reminder to please keep yourselves muted unless you're presenting, so we're able to hear all of the speakers. And again, I will be monitoring the chat at the very end of the presentations, and so we'll be able to have a open dialogue then. So I will.
And Lauren, we're limiting this to just like a couple minutes, right? Each.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So every artist, really, I mean, 2 to 5 minutes, and the whole, I guess, the fun idea for this event is so that everyone has a quick kind of snapshot of you and your work, and at the end we can have a longer dialogue for the last few minutes. And yes, so please keep your presentations somewhat in that time frame. So I will share my screen, and so here is our list of presenters for today. So I will mute myself, and let's get started with Quaylin.
okay. Hello, my name is Quaylin Lum, and I'm the newsletter editor for Collage Artists, and I've done it for maybe 6 years now. It's been a while. And before the pandemic, I started this piece. And at that point, I was a docent at the brick and mortar San Fernando Valley Arts and Cultural Center in Tarzana. And I would go there every week, and then I'd have to have busy hands because you don't talk to people every single minute. And I started cutting silhouettes. It was easy, it was quick and very elementary. And you have these black pieces of paper, and I'd fold them in half, and I'd cut the silhouette of a figure. And then at one point I got involved with cutting body parts. All of this has to do with my involvement in paper dolls. I draw and design paper dolls. And so you always think of figurative. It's just kind of your thing that you always go back to. And some paper dolls have body parts to them, and they're jointed. And so I was thinking of that, and thinking of side views at this point. And that's where all of this started, was these paper cuts, mostly black, but then any color. You can do that in any color and draw on them and all of that. So what happened was, at this old brick and mortar gallery, there was like a lobby space that you could rent for a reasonable amount of money and just put in a one-person show, or any show. And I thought, oh, that's something new and different that I've never had, or where I've had like several works which had a theme all together in one place. So I said, okay, I'm going to call it Long Small Dramas. And all the pieces in it were, almost all the pieces were like either 12 by 36 inches or 12 by 24 inches. So they were like almost like a scroll where you could like see a scene that plays out. And it was an exciting kind of a thing. So I got these cradled art boards, like wood that was supported by like maybe a 1 inch or 2 inch framework in the back. And they're easy to work on. And I love them. I got them from Dick Blick and or Blick Art Materials, I guess it's called now. And I just started collaging onto them. And this one here, well, I was feeling that times felt turbulent. And so I kind of envisioned this tornado scenario. And this is before the pandemic. So I didn't, the full force of the pandemic hadn't gotten to me. But it was still felt turbulent. And so I got figures of two wide-eyed kind of prairie girls, I call them, because they're in calico and country prints to the left. And they were experiencing these tornadoes. And in the middle of it, there was this mysterious rock-like object. And then there was a baby that was praying. And I guess you can see the kind of a maternal figure in the background. And then there are all these body parts that were like being blown around, and wind heads that were blowing things. And there was dancers, because I guess they're like the chorus. And then at the very right, there is an unmoving recipient of all of this turbulence. It's in the form of a mature man with his hand out, who is powerful enough to profit from whatever is gone awry. And even he wears a calico glove to make him seem at one with everyday people, but really it's his hand out. And he's the recipient. And doing this, it was very intuitive. I just kind of felt the imagery and play out, and then eventually just put it all together. So some of my pieces are a lot more kind of like not planned in advance exactly, but I had more of a clear idea of what I was doing in advance. And this one just kind of played out like the long, small drama that it is. And I put it up along with like several other pieces that were shaped the same, but were very different. And I liked this one for whatever reason. It's kind of overlooked, but I like that kind of Asian black and gray and white aspect of it too. It reminded me of a scroll somehow. And then it was up, and about 2.5 weeks later, we got notice, oh, there's this pandemic and it is dangerous. So you're going to have to take the show down before it's time. And it's just like, well, it's like, too bad. I was pretty mad, but it's what it is. And fortunately, the San Fernando Valley Arts and Cultural Center kept it up on their website for a number of years before it finally was, too old. But it was nice to, have a digital version of it too. But it was sad. It had to get taken down because of COVID. And that was the end of that. And now I get to resurrect it here at this venue, and I'm really happy for the opportunity to show it. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Quaylen.
Hey, next person.
Carol.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carol Worthington Levy, and I'm up in San Jose, another place that it's impossible to find any place to show work. So most of what I show, nobody's ever seen it before because there's so few places to show. Anyway, so thanks for this chance to show my work to my fellow artists. This is a mixed media collage, and it's called Family Mystery. It's a combination of materials, including old family photos that I scanned and I printed out on like a matte collage or a matte paper, photo paper, and then images of news clips and fabrics like lace and ribbon and photos. And all of this is to help tell a story. And I also painted on it with some acrylic. But this is based on a family story about my grandmother's father, who was a minor league baseball player. And the story goes that he was hit in the head with a baseball around 1905. So he developed epilepsy and he had to leave the game, and he had himself committed to an asylum where they specialize in caring for epileptics and other people with brain damage. And then there was a quiet divorce, because we're talking, 1905 or so, quiet divorce, and that's the end of that. And my Nana was told that her father had died, which is shocking, but this is, what it was like then. So in her teen years, this would have been around 1912, my grandmother discovered quite accidentally that he was actually still alive. And she was stunned to hear the news, but even then she wasn't allowed to visit him. So the mystery is this. We have no actual record of this. It was not even a photograph of him. In old traditional society, it was considered shameful to have someone in the family go into an asylum. So we have searched tirelessly for photos and information about him and about this incident with no luck at all. And I felt like this was such a tragedy that my Nana's father was lost to her forever, even though he was still alive, and impossible for her to visit. And this is what inspired me to create this story as a collage. Would have been impossible to paint. And so there was no way that I could figure out any other way to do it than this. And I am satisfied with the story as it's being told here, because it gave me a chance to communicate this mystery. So to create this art, I went online and found images of a baseball team that would have been contemporary to his, and built a story around that. And I showed here what her life was like, all these different points in her life that he never saw and she was never able to share with her father. There's images of her mother with my great grandmother, with a black bow and with with her children, but he is sort of nowhere to be seen, just images and thoughts of where he might have been and what his situation was. Anyway, that's how I got to this collage. And you can see there's lace and there's, some beads and just all kinds of stuff that I felt was referring to this sort of tragic story that took place, that my grandmother never saw her father again. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Wow, thank you, Carol. Now we have Dunia. I'd like to comment on everything, on each of your presentations, but I'll hold my comments till the end too. Do we have Dunia here? Not sure if you can unmute. Maybe we can come back to her. I don't see her on the Zoom, so we will come back if she pops in later. Jennifer, I saw you here.
I'm here.
Hi.
Thanks so much for having me and for inviting me today to introduce myself and my work to all of you. My name is Jennifer Lentfer. I'm a collage artist and a poet living in Omaha, Nebraska, along the Missouri River. And just want to acknowledge that the Missouri River in this area was and is source and sister to the Maha, Ponca, Oto-Missouria, Kansa, and Pawnee people, which were the first inhabitants of this land. And while the acknowledgement is not enough, it's a start. My work is also an introduction to my people. And my people are the people of the Great Plains, the horizon, the 360-degree view. My people are the people of 4 seasons and 4-part harmony. We are resolute, resourceful, stubborn descendants of German settlers to South Central Nebraska in the mid to late 1800s. And we benefited from the Homestead Act to occupy seized land from the Pawnee people, land which the U.S. government forcibly removed them from Nebraska to Oklahoma. And my work wrestles with this. and at the same time, it preserves my ancestors' humanity while declaring what I want to emerge from my reckoning with genocide and settler colonialism. I actually, the reason I do this work is because I think if we can claim these personal devastating truths, we can actually take bolder action together. And so as the world turns, I'm just trying to envision a more just and equitable future by drawing on the artifacts of our time and of my ancestors to reimagine and reconnect what binds us to each other and to the common good. And I also want my work to assure us of grace. And they're all tactile, all analog. I make them from found paper, including now uncovered photographs, diaries, and administrative documents. So let me introduce you today also to my great aunt, Maggie Hulse Gerdes Wilhelm. She was born in 1869 and died in 1946. And this is my piece in homage to her called She Kept Loving. My 92-year-old grandmother still recalls Aunt Maggie with great fondness, her great aunt. And as I researched Aunt Maggie's life, I actually came to find out that she is an ancestor who knew love, but also knew great loss. She was a first-generation U.S. citizen, and she buried 3 infant children and 3 husbands in her lifetime. Her obituary referred to her sharing weal and woe with all of them. That is, happiness and success and times of sadness and adversity and all the joy and all the sorrow of life. And her obituary also went on to say that she received, quote, the best of care and love of her 3 living children up to the last moment, which really touched me because my 2 brothers and I did everything in our power to offer that kind of love and care to our mother at the end of her life, too. So my Aunt Maggie's living siblings also traveled from near and far to be at her bedside. And I feel so grateful to share her life with you all because I want to be like my great Aunt Maggie, who was willing to give and receive love despite the life-altering inevitability of loss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. We have Suzanne.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Suzanne Belcher, a mixed media semi-abstract artist, a painter, a collagist, and photographer. Most of you know me more recently as a digital photo collagist. But today, I'm showing a much older piece. I want to begin by laying down framework for the piece that I chose today. It's called Dark Search. It was one of several inspired works done in collaboration with nature essayist Christine Balista, who lives in Austin, Texas. We actually met online in 2009, but never have we yet met in person. Our common passion culminated in the publication of a nature art educational book, Looking for 527, that incorporated her nature essays, which are so incredible, and my art to honor the memory and journeys of Yellowstone alpha wolf 527F, a wolf that she had followed for years and actually sponsored her radio tracking collar. I visited Yellowstone National Park in 1996, shortly after 14 wolves were released into the park after being hunted to near extinction in the 1960s. It was an exciting time, not only for park personnel and environmentalists, but also like followers like me. It wasn't until a compassionate and tragic article appeared in the LA Times in 2009, telling about the killing of 527F along with her cottonwood pack in the first Montana wolf hunt that sadly coincided with the opening of hunting season. And that moved me to discover Christine's essay after a lot of research. The essay began with a paraphrase: if anything happens to 527, I will be sent her collar. I emailed her immediately to ask if I could use her essay in an art piece, and that it was just one piece at that time. Subsequently formed a lasting relationship and worked together until the book was published 10 years ago yesterday. I couldn't believe it, May 10th, 2013. And all royalties initially went straight to the Yellowstone Foundation for the Wolf Project. My underlying intent for sharing this work is to help raise awareness to so much of our wildlife being held in jeopardy. Removal of these apex predators from the Endangered Species Act protection list continues to fuel so much controversy. The wolves recovered beautifully and thrived in Yellowstone because they were protected in the park. But wolves do not understand boundaries. Unfortunately, 527's den was on the park's border. She'd never done anything wrong, but she was in the wrong place and was not afraid of a man with a gun. The success of recovery in the park was wonderful, and it fueled the removal of the ESA protections. Populations then declined. Protections were restored again, removed again in 2011, and again in 2020. A new bill, actually, I did some research, was just introduced on April 30th to once again remove wolves from the Endangered Species Act protection list across the lower 48 states. The benefits these essential apex predators provide always gets lost in the debate, and we never seem to learn from history. So now a little bit about the work. I began by laying down an abstracted acrylic background on a 12 by 40 canvas that ultimately informed the mood and the placement of my images. My collage elements included fragments of the essay, some of which were actually glued onto the canvas beneath the acrylic. I was in the early phases of using my own photographs in my work, and those of my own shadow image that has become one of my recognizable personal signatures. I incorporated found images of wolves, snippets of photos of Yellowstone National Park, along with an actual photo of 527 that was taken when her radio tracking collar was being replaced. I printed my shadow image and the photo of 527 on organza and overlaid the transparent pieces onto the canvas to draw the eye to me and the wolf. Glue is always a question that comes up and an issue when one is doing collage. My glue of choice is usually matte medium. It can be applied over the images. It becomes transparent and provides an archival protection as well. The disadvantage of matte or glossy medium is that once applied, you really cannot relocate an image without damaging it. So sometimes you can use Yes glue or even a glue stick if it's possible. So as one of the presenters said, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Now we have Karen Brown.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for allowing a non-member to participate. I've been a collage artist for the last just about 10 years of a small group in California. My name is Karen L. Brown, and not to be confused with any of the hundreds of Karen Browns across this little blue marble, I use my middle initial. So my work is recognizable by that, and also by my chop that was designed by a close friend of mine who carves the Chinese blocks. The piece that you see is a mixed media collage piece that was a challenge from the group that I belong to. I'll explain that a little bit. And mixed media offers me an opportunity to use a variety of the techniques that I've learned over the last 30 years to save found objects. I can repurpose meaningful pieces of life that would otherwise be added to the landfill. And that's pretty much what my philosophy is now with my artwork, is to use what I have, not buy any more supplies. I realized several years ago that I had enough for 3 lifetimes. So I wanted to use what I had. And the Ode to Norma Jean was a challenge that was given to the group, like I said, by one of the members. And the parameters were basically any size, any additional colors, and no specific theme for that particular challenge. Ode to Norma Jean is a 13 by 7 inch piece of art that I've attached to an archival black mat board and framed in a 17 by 11 inch frame, very simple frame. Each one of the pieces that you see has a story behind it, and I'll share that with you. The Chinese writing in the background is a recovered, rescued, old antique book that I found many years ago. The beauty of that particular book was in the fact that it was an original. Each one of the artists that did the calligraphy had 2 pages to work with. And what I discovered when I started using the pieces from the book is that as I opened the 2 pages, there was an artist signature piece in the middle. In other words, their name was sealed between 2 pieces of paper. So I've used that as the background for this piece. It has handmade paper that I made from the inside of a milk carton. There's a piece of specialty paper from an experiment that I did with encaustic wax. There is an old chamois from my car washing days that I cut in the shape of a stylized ginkgo leaf. There are coral beads from a broken necklace from the 1930s that I found in a aunt's treasure chest that she had for so many years. And if you'll notice, I don't know if you can see, but under the driftwood, there is a round cylinder below and a round cylinder above. Those cylinders are the cardboard tubes from the doggy bags. You know, all those that get tossed away? That's what those are. And I've covered them with pieces of the Chinese calligraphy and inserted those. There are brass washers from an old pile of old metal objects that I've kept over the years. I'm kind of known for my circles in most of my pieces. The driftwood was given by the member of the group. She presented a basket full of driftwood, and each one of us chose 1 or 2 pieces that we wanted to play with. The let's see what else. The fishnet is a piece that was encased in handmade paper, and it was done by a friend of mine called Norma Jean. Norma Jean Robbins. She was a well-known weaver, and she passed away several years ago, and that was part of my treasure chest, so I put that together. I'm having so much fun with all of this because when my husband passed away, I started going through his things. So now I'm finding more treasures that would be tossed. I mean, no one, he didn't have any surviving siblings or family. And so no one would really, I know my children probably wouldn't know what to do with them, and they'd end up in a thrift store or somewhere. So I'm trying to use what I have. A little bit about, and I love the fact that I'm able to use things that can be shared with other people. Very quickly, what I'd like to do also is share with you what our group did. We put together a little magazine, and it explains collage, and it gives examples of all of our work. It's a very small book, magazine, but it's I'll put a link where you can go look at it in the sidebar, so in comments. So anyway, that is ode to Norma Jean, and she found a home. Someone came back after they saw it in a show. They came back a year and a half after the show and said, "Hey, did you sell that piece?" So the person that bought it, had it in her psyche for at least a year before she decided that she really needed to have that piece, and she has a good home now. So thank you all, and it's lovely to hear the stories about the pieces that you're working on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Now we have Wendy Teigman.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. As most of you know, I was CAA president for about 3 years, which I loved doing, and also graphic design, whatever that position was called at the time. First of all, if you want to know the meaning of my work, don't wait, because I'm not going to tell you. It's completely up to you. I do not conceptualize my work before I do it. Sometimes it'll take on, it kind of talks to me and asks for whatever the next piece is. This is not at all a favorite piece of mine, but I thought that it demonstrated what I thought we were supposed to talk about. So let's see. Oh, I do want to mention this. Please, if you haven't joined the CAA Facebook page, please do. It's a fabulous, the group has a fabulous personality. There's new work every day. I have become open to other kinds of collage other than what I like or do. And I've become friends with people in the group. It's been so wonderful and charming. The reason I chose this piece is because I went on a trip around I live close to Toluca Lake in North Hollywood, I guess, and with my camera, which I always don't go anywhere without. And I took pictures of the back of buildings that face Riverside Drive. And each of these are separate collages. I cheated. And so each of them is the back, the background. I mean, that's where I go first. I pick a background. So I walk around all the time shooting. I shoot every day, and with an eye towards backgrounds. And I was an analog artist, in other words, cut and paste. And I found that I wasn't doing it as much as I thought about doing it. So I started doing digital collage, and I mostly use, I only use, what do you call it? Photoshop. And that's what I do. I get up, I have latte, I look at my emails, I go to Facebook, I look at my garden, and I do a collage. And that's my life. Oh, and my dogs, who either they or other members of their species show up in my work, but they're not here. They're not here. But with Photoshop, obviously, you know, you can size, resize, eliminate, bring back, give effects to. I don't do a lot of effects. Once I take what I see what I want to shoot, and what I have is what I like. So I just use what I have. And actually, and I started doing this recently again, but the little, if you look at the image, the square on the left, and there's that feather thing with a little doll head in it, that's actually an assemblage I did. So I have no problem incorporating other work that I've done into present work. And the lovely thing about doing digital collage is that you can go back to it and add stuff and change stuff and lose stuff. And it just suits me. I'm not trying to sell it to anybody, but some people have a negative opinion about digital collage. And that's so silly. You know, it comes from the same place. It comes from the same place. And I think that's all I need to talk about. Yeah, I made some notes as you all were talking, and that's all I got.
Great, thank you, Wendy. We have Dory. I think I saw you on here too. Yes. Hi, Dory. You were one of the first ones in here.
Unmute.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, but no picture. I see you, Lauren. Are you supposed to see me?
Do you see the presentation with your work?
Yeah, this is my work. Okay. But are you supposed to?
We see you, Dory.
Oh, you do? Okay. Okay. I guess I'm not supposed to see myself. I'm so good on these computers and all. Hi all. My name is Dory Cullen. And so I was an art teacher, high school art teacher for many years. And I think it's so interesting because back then, you know, I wasn't doing a lot of my own art. And after retiring and all, boy, I've just been a lot more productive, and I love it. I love it. Before I start, I have to shout out to anyone who was able to view the Aurora Northern Lights last night. Not that I'm in LA, so I definitely did not observe it. But my brother-in-law, who's up in Whidbey Island off Seattle, sent us pictures this morning. Unbelievable. And talk about being inspired by shapes and color and movement. I was really blown away. It's really, really beautiful. I'm probably inspired in many of my pieces about memories long ago. In this particular piece, titled "This World is Made of Dreams," I have fond memories of when I was in junior high. Okay, and I want to see if any of you guys remember this way back, way back. So my friends and I would tear colorful magazine pictures, the whole page, out of a magazine. And then we'd take these long knitting needles and we would wrap the magazine around the knitting needle and then slide it off and then glue the ends. So there's, as you can see in the picture, there's multiple coils done on different widths of knitting needles. I think I used other really skinny, maybe shish kebab needles, wood that would allow me different sizes. Did any of you do that when you were younger? Oh, come on. Anyways, okay, so I would maybe make about 100 coils. We'd then, what we'd do, this is so crazy, we would go to Baskin Robbins, even way back then in the early 60s, and we'd tell the Baskin Robbins people that to please save the empty Baskin Robbins ice cream container. And then we take all these coils and glue them to the outside of this ice cream container all the way around. And they would be these beautiful, I don't know, garbage containers or what. Look, when you're 12 years old or 13 years old, you got to figure out different things to do then. Okay, so the memory though is making these coils. And so I made many of them, as you can see here, different colors, different shades. But this other thing really intrigued me also. I wrote down some notes. I loved that look, but I loved using a specific color scheme. And what intrigues me is, how do you move from one color scheme to another? What makes you in love with certain colors? I am so in love with sage green this year. Sage green became the super popular color when I was getting a baby gift from my niece. She said, don't get pinks, don't get blues. I don't want any of that. But she loved this sage green thing. So I didn't really know too much about that color. And then it just seemed that everything started popping up at TJ Maxx, at t-shirts and jackets. And for whatever reason, I really got into that color. I think it's so interesting. What makes you move towards a certain color and love it? You know, how are things influenced? And then the last part within the collage is just some, I cut different pictures from a landscape. They're different levels. They come out. I don't think you can really see from this, but it's a little 3D, but I don't know. I like this piece a lot. And what I have to say is, I think my work varies from one piece to another. I don't think I have a style. I don't think I have a certain direction to go. I really like exploring a lot of different things, but I do like the subject of memory and what happened as a child, what happened, like so many of these other pieces. You know, you look back at your life, at your other people within your life, and that certainly influences you in your work. So I think that's it. I wrote a few notes, and that's all I got.
Thank you very much, Dory.
You're welcome.
Now we have Gayla.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Gayla. I'm a new member. I was honored to be part of Interplay. I know a number of you were at that show, and so you saw this piece of mine called The Geisha and Godzilla. Just as a little bit of background, I had studied art in college, but mostly oils and modern work, and then began to do mixed media. But I have to admit, work and life got busy, and I've only sort of picked up my artwork in the last few years. So I was ecstatic to know about your organization. I have other pieces. All of them have to do with some kind of a social commentary because my background and work is all around public policy and social change. I had at Interplay mentioned that with this, I sort of started out with some beautiful paper I'd gotten when I was traveling in Japan, origami, little squares. They were about 1.5 inches, and it was just a little tiny box with lots of origami paper designs samples. And I was thinking of a Klimt painting when I started working on this with the geisha. But it was also around the time when there was a lot of discussion about nuclear disarmament, and I was so moved by the peacekeeping thoughts when I visited Japan around nuclear armaments, which is becoming obviously a huge concern now with the wars that are happening in our world. So with the geisha, I actually created, if you look at her heart, that is where the nuclear bomb hit Hiroshima. Her obi sash is the peace treaty that was signed at the end of World War II. And her actual gown is war, anti-war, nuclear war posters from the 1940s. And then the backdrop was obviously a gold gilded overlay that I did. I cut out her face and her hair. I drew it on water color, heavier paper, but cut it and then overlaid it with the various origami paper. You'll see to the left, though, is Godzilla, and the collage behind that are photos of the actual destruction. And you'll see children who have been maimed, the actual explosion, and horrific acts. And when you study this whole era in Japan, so much of the interest in Godzilla and other creatures that were atomic were clearly part of the psyche of Japan coming out of the war. The piece is large. It's 28 by 28 and now framed 34 by 34. That's basically my story. And I look forward to sharing other pieces and learning about all of your wonderful art. I'm humbled to be among you all. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kayla, and it's wonderful to have you here and among the other new members that are here with us today too. So I will now flip to Felix. You still here, Felix? Maybe not. Okay, well, we will come back to Felix if he hops back into the Zoom room.
I see him on the participant list.
Okay. Felix, can you hear us to unmute?
He was here earlier.
Oh, I see you have your hand raised, Felix. Could you unmute yourself on the screen? I see you're showing us new work in the Zoom too. Can everyone see his screen? I don't know if
Yes.
Yes, we can see his piece.
we can see some of your art, Felix, but we can't hear you if you're.
Maybe if you wrote in the chat what the problem is.
He's muted.
Yes, I've clicked the ask to unmute button. Oh,
There you go.
hey. Okay,
Can
hello.
you hear me?
Yes.
I've been having a hard time getting on here, but here I am. And I don't like talking about myself, so I was going to start out by saying hello it's me. I'm the guy who does collage photo art from Milwaukee, you see. I go around the city taking pictures. And like some of the other folks said, I try to recycle as much as I can. Hello, it's me. Sorry, my stuff is a little urban, but I live in an urban city, you see. Sometimes people think I'm just a nut because my art is so urban. Hello, it's me. I'm the shy guy who does collages from Milwaukee. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Said like Elvis.
Thank you very much, Felix.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow, we have everything happening on this call. We even have a whole singing act. Thank you so much, Felix. Now we have Nancy Goodman Lawrence.
Okay. I'm Nancy, and this is my piece. As you can tell by the title, it's part of a series. It's number 13 in the series. So I did quite a lot of this myth, muse, and metaphor. I began the series in January 2022. And I had, before that, I was making mixed media paintings that had invented shapes, shapes that I just made up and would draw and combine cut out images along with acrylic, and they were sort of like players in a drama. And then I decided that I wanted to have some more recognizable imagery in my work, and I started looking through just source material, books, the internet, certain websites, to find images that I thought were kind of quirky, and then I would use them as like stepping off points for my work. So in this one, there are a lot of cages, and I think that I began with that image down in the lower left corner, kind of like a gate that you're looking through. And I don't, the way I begin is I start with an image. I play, by the way, this is canvas. So the background is painted acrylic. There's also acrylic painting on that orb, that sphere on the bottom right. And then the rest of it is all cut out images. So what I do is I draw an image, and then I don't know if you can see me if you have speaker on speaker and image on here, but let me see if I can find. Okay, I'm trying to see my image. I don't know if you can see this. Can you? Okay, so I use a lot of tracing paper, and here is this cage up on the upper right hand side that I then am able to take my paper and put it on top of whatever it is I want to use for this object and see how it looks beneath it. And then I use carbon paper and I trace that image, and that's kind of just a basic thing that I cut out. And then I go from there, I add, I subtract, I layer things. And so, I have two things that I keep in mind when I do my work. Number one is the formality of making art and making a beautiful surface. I always want my surface to be kind of pristine and beautiful. And then there's what lies beneath the surface, which
Right.
is the possible narrative that could go with it. My narratives aren't, it isn't like I start with a narrative and say, okay, this is about such and such. In this case, it became kind of about freedom, chaos, chaos and escaping from chaos. That can just be a very, very general theme. And, you know, when I think about everything that's going on in the world now, there's a lot of chaos. And so, you know, as an observer, you can look at it and see a story here or not. I don't make it, you know, crystal clear that it is about any one particular thing. But as I said, I try to combine my just love of surface with what kind of a story it can be telling. And that's pretty much it. So thank you for allowing me to participate with this great group. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Now we have Laureen.
Hi, thank you for including me. My name is Laureen Lazarovich. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. I am a Valley girl. I live in Sherman Oaks. And I think I let my membership lapse, but after today, I'm definitely going to re-up. I sent in this piece, and Lauren required it to have a name. So I was like, what do I call it? So I chose Hard to Comprehend. And that was only because the text piece in this is in a language that I don't understand. And I actually don't even know what language it's in. It might be Polish. Some of you might be able to tell. I made this during a class, a retreat I was on with the mixed media teacher, Kathy Leader, who I know this group has had as an instructor at least once. And she's a beautiful art teacher and space holder. And in fact, I'm just back from another art retreat with her a few weeks ago. I always use vintage or used or upcycled materials. I hardly ever buy or make anything new from scratch. I'm obsessed with upcycling and recycling, and I do pull things out of the literal trash can. And sometimes it even has like a little bit of somebody's lunch on it. So this piece was actually in my little sidekick next to my real art that I was making at this event. And I hate any drop of paint going to waste. So if there's like a little bit of paint left in my little upcycled plastic cup, I do something with it, either brayer or something. And I had my favorite stencil with me, so I just put the paint through the stencil. And funny story about this stencil, I rinsed it after I was done. I rinsed it off and made a strategic mistake of putting it outside of our classroom to dry in the sun. And somehow in the course of the afternoon, it either blew away or someone thought it was a piece of trash and threw it away. And my precious, precious favorite stencil was gone. And the entire retreat center staff was out looking for it and was very concerned for me. And I have to admit, I was a little bit heartbroken, but I got over it.
Mhm.
And I hoped that somehow I would be okay or find something like it. And then I did try to find something. I did try to find it again, and I was in my favorite art store in the San Fernando Valley, Craftiness in Chatsworth, and I looked through almost every stencil and I couldn't find it. And as I'm in the store lamenting, another shopper, a woman, just starts walking towards me and she's holding something out and she said, "Is this it?" And it was. So I got to buy a replacement of the stencil, and I keep a much tighter eye on it these days. So that's the sage green part through the stencil on the sidekick. And Kathy loves to teach her students how to make this beautiful paper with like black ink or black marks on like deli paper or tissue paper. So it has this translucent quality where it's an element itself, but you also see what's going on underneath. So that's the black and white over there. And this piece, like almost everything I do, is intuitive. I don't go in with an intention or tell a story. I've been a writer for my entire career, and collage and mixed media is my way of having something visual that's completely not about words. And if I do have words in a collage, it's either in a language I don't understand,
There
or
you are.
it's upside down, or something that makes it not literal. And Kathy also loves to teach the landscape composition, and I think I was kind of following that with this. And landscapes are really important in human evolution. People like landscapes because it harkens back to the time when humankind was kind of on these prairies, and we needed to be able to see whether predators were coming our way, to be able to know whether to run away or fight. And kind of a clean landscape is a way to be able to see, to just see what's around us so that we can be aware of our surroundings and our circumstances. So it's part of our evolutionary biology. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lorraine. So as there were a few people who had to drop off at the last minute, I thought I would present to you myself too today. Well, I guess my name is Lauren, and this work is called Kandinsky's Walk Home, and it's a digital collage made up of photographs of various woodcuts, paintings, art historical publications, and even there's the kind of a circle in there from a candle that I turned at my grandfather. He has a little wood shop, so that's in there too. But so I often work in analog and photograph the elements, so then transforming them digitally. And I often have a lot of pieces in there that aren't visible, but I use either as a texture or just something that I know is there and kind of lives within the piece, but is not visible to anyone else. So I guess I'd like to share a few words about the material elements in this work. So the first being the pairs of ballet flats in the photograph on the left, kind of in the uh, blue or gray color. So in the fall of 2021, I went to Julian's auction house in California, and I live in Michigan now, but I was in California for school. So I went to this auction house, and they were having an an auction for the property of the life and career of Amy Winehouse. And at the time, I was listening to a lot of her music, and I really love jazz music. And I think of artists, I think of musicians, you know, a lot like a kind of conglomerate of all of their influences and who came before them. So for her, I always think of Sarah Vaughan and Billie Holiday, Etta James, Nina Simone, and all of these very strong female artists. And so I went to this auction, and at the time I was also writing my senior thesis at Loyola Marymount on Wisely Kandinsky. And so the black and white elements are from various items in the LMU Special Collections Library, and they have part of the Max Thalman collection there. And so some of them were these woodcuts that were originally printed in a periodical from the early 20th century titled Die Lebenden, or the Living in German. And Thalman spent a semester at the Bauhaus in Weimar in 1919. And so I was interested in this material for my research, not directly related to Kandinsky, but more kind of reading around the time. And so among other slices of images, there's a page from Kandinsky's Point in Line publication, which I was also reading and was trying, you know, collecting a lot of footnotes. And so I spent a lot of time with this this publication, and most of my work incorporates music and art theory in some form, whether it's visible or more in ideation. And so this work was the background of my computer screen all of the last year when I went to the Courtauld in London to complete my master's in art history, and doing the research for my MA thesis. This work was kind of a touchstone for me, just a reminder of my interests and kind of inspiration for the interdisciplinary aspects of art history. And I really focused on this for my thesis, looking at the intersectionality between music and art in Eastern Europe in the late 19th, early 20th centuries through a sort of case study of two composers, one Arnold Schoenberg and then Kazimir Malevich, who was born in Ukraine, and a fellow artist and composer that he grew up with, Michael Roslavets. And so that was, so I guess this piece to me was grounding and kind of a like I said, really a touchstone, and I saw it every day when I was trying to sort through all of the research material and lots of editing and rewriting and all of that last year. So thank you. Yes, I'll stop there and I will pass it on to Lori.
Okay, hi, I'm Lori Markman, and I'm very happy to be here and meet you all and see all the work. It's just so interesting how different everything is. So I have been doing art for a very long time, and normally I worked in oils, and I did large paintings, 3 feet by 4 feet, 4 feet square. And in 2015, because of the political situation, I became very politically active. I did these big political oil paintings. I did a lot of political work, all to, well, all against Donald Trump. And when Biden won the election in 2020, I was so tired of being filled with anger and negativity and horror and being scared that I said to myself, I have to shift my focus completely. I want to do something that is so peaceful and tranquil and beautiful and calming. And I've always loved Japanese art. And I started doing these smaller collages, and they ranged anywhere from 14 by 17 inches to 18 by 24 inches. This, I think, is 16 by 22. So I did a whole series of them called Magical Landscapes. I have 17 of them. This one, well, so let me backtrack. When I did them, I would start out with a source photograph. And then I would take elements from the source photograph and just intuitively and spontaneously use some of them. So by the time I got done with the collage was nothing like the source photograph at all. I mean, you wouldn't even recognize that it was the inspiration unless I told you. Unfortunately, I looked for the photograph that this came from and I couldn't find it. So I don't know what happened to it. But what I do again is just work intuitively. The elements of the mountain, and there's a moon in the back in the text, that all came from a book that it was a scholarly book on Japanese graphic art, and it was published in 1976. It was a Czechoslovakian publication, and the paper in this book was absolutely beautiful. It was thick, it was heavy, I loved it. And I think the paper gave me I just had to use this paper. So basically, I cut up the whole book, and then I found 2 more on the internet, and I got them, and I'm cutting up them. So, and I also use text, and I also do, Laureen, what you do. Sometimes I don't want people to be able to read the text, so I turn it upside down, which is what I've done in this. I've used different sizes of text. The flowers in the background come from greeting cards. And the trees in the bottom also come from greeting cards. And so I think that when you look at this particular work, when you look at it, your mind views it into a very sort of normal, realistic piece. And it's only if you keep on looking at it that you realize this is completely illogical. There's nothing real about this collage at all. It's just all these imaginary elements that are somehow put together to remind you of a real traditional landscape, but it's not. Like, where are the flowers coming from? Where are the trees coming up from the bottom? It's just, so I just love these. And when you see them in person, they're all of them calming, meditative, and beautiful. And the series kind of came to an end. I want to see if I can get back to it in a slightly different way, but now I've been working on something which is the exact opposite, which is collages that deal with the turbulence of our times and the fragmented quality of our time in these strange landscapes that are all about destruction versus hope. destruction, and hope. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lori. Next, we have Patrice Goldberg.
Hi, and thank you. Hello to everybody once again. I just want to say, I know we'll have time at the end to discuss all the various artists and artworks, but this is so inspiring and so it's a little overwhelming. I keep saying I'm new to collage artists, but I think it's been well over a year now. But collage artists is really my introduction to being part of an artist's community. I've worked professionally as a commercial interior designer and did a lot of my collage work privately, only because it was something I enjoyed doing, but never really shared or thought much about the process or what I was doing. What I knew was I was telling stories and saving stuff. As many others have mentioned, I do have that disease where it's hard to throw anything out because everything has either a memory or a texture or a soul that can be used in a different way. And I think I made some notes as I was listening to everybody, and I think the common denominator between all of us and between most artists and others is that we see things differently. And when you're of that mindset, then anything can be something else. And so collecting garbage out of a trash can does not seem extraordinary because somebody's trash has potential. So anyway, this piece is called Choices. And I selected this piece because I was very proud of the fact that this was my first submission to a public event or a public exhibition or a call for entries. And it was very scary because, again, as I said, I'd never really shown anything. And I'm in Southern California. I'm in the city of Orange, close to Disneyland. And La Victoria is a West Coast food distributor, and they specialize in Mexican salsas and Mexican foods. And a few years ago, they were celebrating, it's a family-owned business, they were celebrating their 100th anniversary and did a call for entries. They were planning an anniversary event, and part of the event was to acknowledge local Los Angeles artists. So I was a stretch. I'm Orange County, but still, close enough. And I decided I would submit, not thinking, knowing that Los Angeles is such a bevy of talent. I thought there's no way, but it was free. And I thought I'll just, make the leap. And I was selected. I was one of 6 artists selected to come to the event, present, and then speak a little bit about the artwork. What the submissions were existing artwork, and then what La Victoria asked us to do, those that were selected, was to create a piece for La Victoria. So I think it was Karen, I made a note. I mean, somebody mentioned that several of you have mentioned that you don't buy anything, and I'm of the same ilk. I refuse to buy anything because I have so much stuff, and again, everything can serve a purpose. And the personality or the direction or the story that the artwork tells is not always evident. It's more of the assembly of the work itself that starts creating that story. So I decided that because it was a Southern California company and we were highlighting life in Southern California, I did have to go out and buy La Victoria salsa jars because I had never tasted the food. And so I went out and bought several jars, soaked the labels off the containers and used them as part of the background collage and even broke up some of the bottles. And if you can see the jar, the only part that's not painted is the screw top lid of the jar. Kept that unpainted, but then also used parts of the bottles and plastic chilies and tomatoes and things, whatever I could find that represented both La Victoria and Southern California living. And so most of my work, what I do is I start with the canvas background, create the collage, and then adhere these three-dimensional elements to create the elevated portion of the assemblage. And then I paint the pieces to resemble aged metal. And so it sort of unifies the pieces that I've thrown together, because it's everything from plastic to paper to, there are light switches, there's a little terracotta sun. Everything that I use has a different weight, texture, and form, but the painting I do is to unify the whole thing. The screw top lid I left unpainted, and then at the presentation I had 5 or 6 different jar lids, you know, the hot salsa, the semi-hot, mild, whatever. And I like the pieces to be a little interactive because it forces people to really look at the detail. So I encourage them to unscrew the jar, you know, and take a different lid and rescrew, you know, a different color jar top, if you will. The other thing I wanted to mention is, in keeping with saving everything and keeping everything, and Lauren, what you mentioned about having elements in your work that aren't always obvious, is the canvas I used for this piece happened to be a painting of my parents. It was not very well done, in my opinion, but my mother, before she passed, had given it to me. And it's one of those things that I thought, I can't get rid of it. I can't hang it in my home because it just wasn't anything that was all that attractive. But they were so proud of the portrait that they had made that I kept it. And then what I've done is, that is the canvas that I used for this particular painting. So in painting over it and reusing it, I've preserved the portrait of my parents, but created something that could be presented, in my opinion, and shared with other people. I think that's the gist of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrice.
Thanks.
Claire, are you?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
You can. Okay. Hi, I'm Claire Standish, and I am really thankful for this opportunity to meet virtually with everyone on this World Collage Day. And thank you to Lauren, especially for putting this all together for us. I have really loved listening to everybody's presentations. I'm feeling really inspired, and I've taken a lot of notes. I've been making collages off and on for most of my life, having been fascinated by paper since childhood. My love affair with all things paper related continued through adulthood. And in the late 1990s through the early 2000s, I owned a paper and stationery shop here in our small town. A favorite project during those years was creating custom wedding and party invitations. And sometimes I would make small collages just for myself with the leftover scraps, juxtaposing bits of ephemera that ought not to go together, but just trying to see if they might. In about 2013, I decided to take some coursework online to learn more about collage, design, color, and so forth. I loved learning about the history of collage, and have found a lot of inspiration in the work of Kurt Schwitters, Hannelore Barron, Erwin Kremen, Anne Ryan, and Lance Lesher. Joining organizations such as the Collage Artists of America has allowed me to further my education, and I'm learning so much from my fellow members who are extremely generous in sharing what they know. I've been encouraged over the years by my teachers to pay very close attention to what I love, what materials I'm drawn to, mostly vintage and upcycled, like several people have mentioned, and to just explore, explore, explore. That was some of the best advice I've ever been given. In all of this exploration, the work that I've made is sometimes very minimalist and quiet, Sometimes it's densely layered and colorful. I sometimes have botanical themes referenced. I've come to the conclusion that it is materials that drive my work. Sometimes I might be inspired by a song or something I've read, but most often it's the materials that get me going. What catches my eye might be the small corner of the back of an old book, a roughed up package that came in the mail, a vintage drawing of a flower or a piece of fabric. I'll just put that bit of ephemera down on a piece of paper, watercolor paper or some other substrate, and start looking through my stash for other items that might want to play along. I seem to be going through a season of exploring the grid format and enjoying the possibilities there. That's what you'll see here in this piece. What got the piece I'm sharing today off to the races was actually the piece of paper in the lower left. It's mulberry paper with leaves embedded in it. It was left over from a project from my paper store days, which tells you something about how long I might hold on to something that inspires. The rest of the piece is composed of a torn dust cover from a book, excuse me, some old book pages, painted tracing paper, and paper from a player piano roll. I found that player piano roll paper is pretty great for collage. It glues down nicely, has some yummy marks on it. They're song lyrics, actually, and the punched out holes where it attaches to the player mechanism. So if you find some, consider grabbing it. The adhesive question always comes up among us collagists, so I'll share that my adhesive of choice for this piece and for most of my work is PVA. I like both like Lineco's neutral pH adhesive and Jade 403. Jade 403 is available in 2 thicknesses, and which I really like. I apply my adhesive with a brush or one of those silicone color spreaders. I've also used acrylic medium for some of my work. I really appreciate this opportunity to share about my work, and I wish everyone a most happy and ultimately creative World Collage Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. So I think, I think I did see Dunia. Did you pop in? I thought
I saw her too.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm so sorry.
No,
I
here.
apologize. I checked it twice with the time converter here in Germany, and it said 21:45. So I said, oh, okay, I will go for dinner and then we'll come back and do this. And apparently I'm an hour late, no? I apologize, everyone, but I check it, I promise. But well, we are. Happy World Collage Day to everyone. My name is Dunia Barrera. I am from Spain, Madrid. I am currently living in Munich, Germany, and I spent also time in the US where my husband comes from. This work that I have here is a series of 10 pieces, and it's called Life Game. And what I want to use to share that for me, my work is based mostly on objects. Right now I'm doing more assemblage and working with objects, especially old vintage games. This series is a collection of 10 solitary games, and I got them in a, call it like eBay, a local eBay here in Germany. And I thought always I feel an attraction to the piece, and then I put it in my studio until I find this is the moment to use it. And this particularly game, because it's called a solitary game, it was the perfect medium for me, the perfect object to communicate a concept, no? And in this case, I'm working the gender roles and also the mental load that as a woman I can tell for myself I feel, no? So that's the series. There are other 9 like this, all working concepts of gender roles and and mental load, and I think is a nice combination to use this solitary game, because often this mental load is a solitary feeling. I don't say that this for every woman, but for me it is, and I know a lot of others that experience the same. So with this work, I was trying to acknowledge all these feelings, and also for me, one of my, how you call this, one of my desires is to connect with people and to tell them, I see you and you are seen, and I know what you're going through. So, and of course the pins on the holes in this case are reflecting these mental notes we have, or personally I have to buy this present for this birthday from my daughter's friend, or I have to prepare this. I cannot forget to do this. I have to go to work and do this and that. And it's completely a chaos sometimes in my head. So I think this is therapeutic, but also a way to acknowledge all these feelings. So that's this series. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm really happy that you were able to pop on. So thank you all for your brilliant presentations. And I will now switch us to the gallery mode so that we can all see each other and look through the chat, which has over 99 comments now. So maybe so I will look through the comments, but if you'd like to unmute and talk amongst yourselves, that would be maybe more timely. But it's such a pleasure to just see you here, and I'm really happy that that we all could come together today, and it's just been so inspiring, and I hope it's been reflective and informative, and we're really happy that you're all here. So I will look through the comments, but please feel free to unmute, and thank you so much for being here.
Lori, I wanted to comment on your presentation, basically because you said that you felt a need to really get into a better space after the election. And like most of us, I think, for me especially, I've been using art, my interest in the creative process for many, many years. But I didn't start learning about art until the 1990s. So I had other things in my life that I needed to do, but I'm glad that I was able to use art and the creative process as a therapy for myself. So thank you, Lori, for mentioning that. I think it's really important that we keep the creative mind and the creative actions going. And if nothing else, fight for that during our school years for our future human beings. So thank you, Lori.
And I have to say that it also really did help me, because the collages just became a refuge. It was a
Yes.
place where I could go to feel that peace.
Absolutely.
And now I'm back to the other problem of how do I address those feelings that just aren't as good, and yet not leap over into the dark. So
Right. Well, that's a challenge we all have, I think.
balance. Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
I just say leap.
Yeah,
Into the
exactly.
dark side, if that's where you're at.
Yeah, I'm sick of it though. I'm just
I
sick.
get it. Yeah.
During COVID, I was still a member of a gallery at that point, and the year that we were completely closed down, apparently I was one of the only artists there who actually was producing, and I was so prolific, and it was in reaction to being so solitary. I mean, I had to do something, and I created a whole series about cooking and food, and you know, it was really, I mean, you'd never believe, looking at it, that I was struggling to sort of stay up and sort of stay afloat, because I just kept reaching for my stronger colors and my images and things that would give me joy. And I just don't know what I would have done without being able to create during that time. I also learned how to bake, and boy, am I a good baker now. But aside from that, I mean, just the art. And I even wound up putting on a one-man show that nobody saw in a library, because I just wanted to get the work out, like put it up there and see what I had done for that year, and actually see it. It was, you know, pretty cool to actually put up a one-man show like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, I went a deep dive and did a whole bunch of, like, a gazillion cartoon panels of a story that I just made up. Just went and did the story and just, well, it took a long time, and it just kept going and going.
But it was your mental health, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it wasn't. It was just something I did, I think, to cope. Now, I don't even know if cope is the word. I think I enjoyed the solitariness of being able to do a deep dive in stories. So
We had the time to do it. I mean, some of us had more time than others, but
yes,
you know,
I
to
didn't have kids, and I didn't have grandkids, and you know, it was just kind of a peaceful time.
You know, that brings up a question in my mind, and maybe somebody can answer it, is a lot of the work that is being shown is still being not considered because it was produced during the COVID. And well, you know, they ask for new work. And what do you do with all the new work that you did during that period of time that you put that date on? You know, how is that being looked at?
Never date your work, first of all.
Yeah,
I mean,
Don't
never
date.
date your work. And I mean, is a Picasso or a Kandinsky piece, or all of these famous artists, I mean, they can never show a piece that it can never be shown because it's old. And I have an objection to some of the organizations that limit your work, because sometimes you have no opportunity to show your older work. And because it was done several years ago doesn't mean it's not excellent or still where you are, in a sense. So I think all of our work is relevant. No
Well, I
matter
think
when-
it's,
when
I
we
think
do it.
it's relevant too. But when the call comes out for work that was done within the last 1 or 2 years,
Only you
all
know.
of that work that's never been shown.
Only you know. They don't
Yeah,
know.
I think that that galleries and calls for art have been easing up on that lately, because I know it used to be almost everything that was out there, whether it was an organization or a competition, would say that it had to be done within a certain number of years. And I'm finding that, like, now I will read it really carefully, and a lot of prospecti don't even have that on there anymore.
That's true.
So
Oh,
if you're
good.
gonna date it, I would
Well,
say
that's good.
date it on the back where nobody can see it. Because I think
exactly.
collage artists one time, Suzanne, I think somebody's piece got hung at Viva Gallery, and then they saw the date on it, and it was prior to what, you know.
I lost an
that-
award because of that.
Yeah,
It was I think it was my work.
oh, okay, I didn't remember
And
whose it was.
somebody
It was so
ratted
long.
me out that it had been done. Yeah, and it was,
Yeah.
I'd never shown it before.
Right.
So I
I
had to,
think your date
you
was
know,
on there and that's why they knew, how they knew.
no, I actually, I was ratted out. And so I stood up and I gave a present. They let me show the work, but they took the money away.
Oh,
And it had just been done a year before.
Wow.
It was, and so that was when the rules were changed.
Oh, good, good.
Ridiculous.
Well,
And
that's
the
great.
juror said there was a lot of very old work in this show.
You know, I think that one of the reasons that the date might be important is when you have a history of an artist, you can go back and you can look how the artist has developed, say, since the 60s, 70s, and now they're this year. That's what's exciting. But that's not what these requirements are thinking about. You know, if you have a gallery, if you have a retrospective, you know, you want to see that development. But I don't think that that's what the requirements are when we enter a show and they want to know the last two shows. So I agree with you, Suzanne.
Yeah, another thing that I think was probably one of the rationales for that is that organizations want their artists to continue to produce.
Yeah.
And but dates are out. And as Nancy said, you know, date
like
it on the back if you know, or keep a log for yourself so that you know when you did it.
That's good. Keep a log for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually put on the back a certificate of authenticity. And that includes the date and the size and the medium and how it's protected and all that kind of information.
Yeah, I do that for digital work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Suzanne, I was thinking, I also make films, and I've had 3 short films. They've gone to about 50 festivals. And in short films, also the relevancy of the recency of the work's critical, but it's really also related to when you have your world premiere or your Los Angeles premiere or whatever. So I wonder if with the collage art, it could be the older piece might have been made, but this is really its entree into the US exhibit or to the world exhibit, if you follow what I'm saying. Because I know the film festivals all want to say, this is the first time we're showing this piece of work. And I would imagine there's something about that in the visual arts as well.
Yeah.
So maybe put, you know, world premiere of this work or US premiere or whatever.
it's so hard to do.
Yeah, that's funny.
Why not?
No, of course, whatever's going to work. Yeah, I'm doing it at my stage of life. I'm doing it for me. I'm really not doing it for anyone else, and I enjoy it. And I'm doing some small workshops and participating. So when you say world premiere, I think, what? Do I have to do something
you
else?
show it should be the year that really marks that piece being seen to the world or the US or Collage Artists of America or whatever group. It shouldn't be dated necessarily or stuck in the period you do it. Because like, let's say, like in Suzanne's piece, you know, she did it, but it was the first time it's being shown, it got an award. That should have been a big point of celebration is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, another thing, the piece that I showed today, I've only shown it once. It was at the San Fernando Valley Arts and Cultural Center, and it was a theme show. And I did many pieces related to 527, The Wolf. And it was a passionate time for me because I'm very connected to the environment. So in essence, it sits in my studio along with all of the other pieces. Some of them have never been framed. It had been my hope when I was working with Christine that I had a vision at that time that the work and her essays, she was the one that was an expert about the wolf and, you know, had all, you know, the environmental issues and so on. And she's brilliant. and went to Yellowstone twice a year. And I envisioned that we would have an art show with her speaking about the scientific and important elements of, the plight of the wolves or whatever. And she is so shy that she absolutely refused. I even suggested that she did a video out in the Yellowstone Park, and that she would not have to appear in person. So I saw my work in Yellowstone. She also did not want the Yellowstone Foundation to have our book in the bookstore because of political issues that were swirling around at the time. So it was really a big disappointment that the work still sits where it is. So in a sense, this was a premiere of that particular piece, I can say.
Very strong.
And I'll do a confession. I mean, I am new to the group, so I picked a piece that you thought you might put into your interplay. It did exhibit at the Municipal Art Gallery in LA. It was a curated piece. So I felt, well, maybe you all would then include it, and I was thrilled that you did. But it has already had one viewing. So I guess I shouldn't have submitted it to you all.
Oh, absolutely.
come on.
No, there's no time. Absolutely. No.
Yeah, there's, yeah.
And
the
it's
only
all up to the jurors that we have. I mean, it's all there's subjectivity in what the jurors decide, the kind of look that they want for their particular show. So it's always a crapshoot, and those who don't get in, never be discouraged, because in the next show it could win first place. You just never know.
I was just happy
there's
you included it.
There's like restrictions on showing the same like pieces that have been exhibited at the San Fernando Valley Arts and Cultural Center before.
Yeah, or shown before, exactly.
There, yeah, that venue. Yeah, or maybe our prior show.
Or even for Collage Artists or Women Painters West, you cannot show the same piece in another show that you've already shown.
Right,
So
that too.
yeah, hopefully you have more work, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be careful that you didn't like show it before.
Yeah, and sometimes we forget if we've been in the trenches for many years, you forget, oh my God, did I, you look on the back and to see if it has a label that says CAA or something.
Right.
Oh my God, I showed that 5 years ago, you forget.
So long. But
I see.
I thought it was
Or-
interesting to get the filmmaker's perspective on premiering things, because it's such a making a collage can be done in the afternoon, and film no. So it's such a different scale of work.
Hey, Lauren, are there comments? You said there were 90 comments, but are there any that are worth throwing out since we've got such a nice group assembled?
Well, I didn't see many specific lots of I mean, amazing commentary, and really speaks to the variety of the presenters that we had. But there is a note in here from Carol Worthington Levy, which I don't know if she's still here or not, but I will be saving the chat so that everyone can go back through, and there are lots of links and files. Even people added Karen, you added the magazine, so I'll add that into a big document that will live on the CAA website with this recording, so that everyone has access.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
This was wonderful. Lauren, you've done a really outstanding job. As she always does. She is a brilliant young woman, and we are so lucky to have her. She's going for her PhD, and her research is beyond any comprehension that I have, but I've read some of it, and it's brilliant. You're incredible.
I just love this
we have you
much. Well, and we were all talking about COVID, and that was when I joined, which I can't believe now it's been almost 4 years, which is unbelievable. But yes, because I love the community and just being able to learn from all of you. I think that it's really just a special group. So thank you.
Well,
I was
I was
really
the
impressed.
PR chair as well as the membership chair for a long time, and it just and Lauren popped up. She was going to Loyola, and we finally did get to meet her. The board did before she took off back to Michigan and studied in the UK. So it was real special. So I found her, and I found Patrice. So
Yeah.
can take
It's amazing
credit.
the caliber of the presentations here. I mean, I was surprised. I thought, oh, it'd be, a little fuzzy and loosey-goosey, and no, it's like, wow, this is our organization, isn't it?
We have so much talent. Honestly, the competition is steep. So
Yes.
getting in a show, it's really an honor. I'm telling you, it's we're all getting intimidated by these and younger artists. When we were in person here with just local people, most of us have grown older, and so it's really wonderful to have youth come in and to see what you have to offer. It's incredible.
We all have a different voice, and each one I think is valuable
Right.
to not only each one of us, but to the world at large. And I want to thank you. May you have peace in your life, and may you be healthy, and hope to see you again.
Karen, you got to join up.
Yeah. Thank you, Suzanne.
Yeah, you got to join up. Go on our website, and it's easy. And if you can't do it, Patrice will help you.
No, I have been on your website, and Janet Black, I'm sure you know her name.
Sure.
She's a close friend of mine.
Oh my God.
The one that always sends me forward, and I've just been busy doing my art. I love it.
Well, we'd love to have you.
Thank you.
And we have the meeting
Everybody.
Friday, so